it so that none of the cultivators had any way to cultivate again and could only retreat to the back. Because under this violent spiritual energy riot, cultivating here, it was extremely easy to go off the deep end and suffer damage to the meridians. They had to do it for the sake of their little lives. It was just that this caused the indignation of the demon race cultivators, who already had resentment towards Chu Feng, to be even higher towards Chu Feng. The one who was happiest to see such a situation was Nangong Ming, because then these guys can be the best partners. At that moment, he went over to pull these people together. Come in all the people. At first there is a small half of the number of people to see this situation. The heart has a self-awareness did not participate in it outside. The remaining 2/3 were pulled into the group by Nangong Ming. Brother Nangong, if we do this, will we be remembered by the demon emperor? If we are jinxed by her, we will be. If we make a move, with this guy's character will definitely not spare us. Then, and Lord Demon Emperor, when the time comes to make a move against us, we'll be completely helpless. Some people who were a bit timid and still had a strong fear of the Demon Emperor couldn't hold back the fear in their hearts and opened their mouths trembling. Seeing the cowering appearance of these people, Nangong Ming despised them in his heart. No wonder these guys have always been suppressed by others. Even if there was no one to pressure, with such a heart, it wouldn't go far in the future. However, although Nangong Ming despised it in his heart, he still knew that in this situation now, the most important thing was for someone to come forward. That thing hooked them in, so that the fear in their hearts squarely back to reduce. It's not useful at all, but it just has a heartfelt comfort. At that moment, he didn't continue to hide his figure and stepped forward to say, this is something we don't have to be afraid of at all. We have to know that within our demon clan, it's all about the weak and the strong, and with the support from within our family, we won't be afraid of the demon emperor. The other thing is, there are so many of us. If the demon emperor pursues the matter, he can't do it either. The people above will defend us. After all, if we are all punished, does the face of the family still want it? What about the interests of the family? When he finished, he cleared his throat and continued, and that is, don't you guys want to break through this bottleneck into the next realm? Enter the heaven realm? The resources here are completely insufficient for us to share. Only in the very center, those essences can help us advance. But now that it's all taken up by that wild boy, do we staunchly hold back? With these words, the feeling of awe in the hearts of the people around them disappeared, and instead, they began to yearn for the essence inside the blood pool. One of them even stood up anxiously and asked, Nangong Gong Gong, when do we start? This is not a lot of time. If he keeps standing and we don't make a move, it won't do any good. Wait until this man reaches the critical moment, and immediately make a move on him. After all, this guy has those dirty tricks. If we don't get ready and he wants to die with us, we won't have any fun. Nangong Ming saw that the atmosphere was almost ready and immediately decided to come down. At that moment, these people also stopped making trouble and followed Nangong Ming to find a place to observe Chu Feng's situation, ready to strike at any time. 1 day, 2 days, time long passed unconsciously for 5 days while they waited. At this point there are still 10 days left. The patience of these men grew thinner and thinner, and their moods began to grow irritable. If you don't move, you're going to explode. Seeing this situation, there was nothing Nangong Ming could do in his heart, because that's what's so hard to manage about the demon race and demon road cultivators. They are all one and all arrogant, unruly guys. If it wasn't for the fact that their strength was overwhelming them, they were completely looking down on each other in their hearts. As long as there is a little friction, they dare to go straight to war. These conditions only cool down a lot when it comes to practicing. However, now that they were disturbed by Chu Feng in such a manner, there was absolutely no way for them to cultivate. The other thing is that his apparent strength just doesn't overpower these guys at all. That's why the party is in such a state. Without a way out, Nangong Ming could only pray that Chu Feng would hurry up and complete his cultivation to the critical point of cultivation. That way, he could do it quickly. By then, there would be no need for him to work so hard, waiting for the other side to come out. I don't know if his prayers were heard by God or only. In the blink of an eye, located in the middle of the blood pool, a violent and furious pillar of light steeply appeared up. Some people were still shaken in their hearts when they saw this pillar of light, wondering what was happening inside. But Nangong Ming on this side immediately knew that his chance had come. He stood up and said to these cultivators, that kid is now at a critical point in his cultivation. If we make a move now, he won't be able to react, and he won't be able to take care of us at all. After saying that, he directly led his team and then killed Chu Feng. The many cultivators who had an agreement with him, seeing this, immediately followed him and killed him as well. Sure enough, all along the way, none of them received any obstruction, and even the pills that scared them didn't explode. Humph, this activation is really cultivated to the critical moment of the Heaven Realm Pass. Otherwise, Nangong Ming, who hadn't been stopped along the way, was even more certain of his thoughts. At that moment, his feet moved a few moments faster. As long as he rushed in now and interrupted his opponent's breakthrough, then that kid would shed a layer of skin without dying. In addition, the most important thing was that as long as he made his own move and interrupted his breakthrough, then it's a big feud with these people. When the time comes, he doesn't have to do anything. The two parties, who, in the blink of an eye, Nangong Ming rushed to Chu Feng's face. Seeing the Chu Feng at that moment, his body was now covered in blood-colored essence, and it was still rapidly surging into the other side as time went on. Seeing the situation, at that moment, Nangong Ming stepped in. However, at that moment, Chu Feng in front of him violently opened his eyes and stared at Nangong Ming. Being given such a look by Chu Feng, Nangong Ming then violently felt a coldness in his heart, and a massive chill rose from his heart. It made the movements of his hands lurch. Humph! You still dare to be so arrogant even after death. After feeling the chill that appeared in his heart, Nangong Ming's heart became irritated and angry, and he violently waved his hand, and a blood-colored power struck Chu Feng. Chu Feng casually extended his hand and directly received that attack. Humph! You're the only one who made a move? Oh, just watch. Boy, you're finished. How dare you do this? Now all the people rushed over. When the time, as Nangong Ming watched Chu Feng's movements, his eyes snapped shut, and he immediately moved away a bit. And only then did he look at Chu Feng coldly, as if he was looking at a dead person. He knows his own business. The attack that he had struck was not an outburst, but it also had 10% of his own strength. That is, if he received it, he would not necessarily be able to receive it. But the fact that the other party took it so simply meant that this guy was definitely not simple. It seems that settling all of you this time is just enough to prevent you from making trouble later on. Regarding his threat, Chu Feng did not care at all and only coldly laughed. A pair of eyes with an ice-cold look. A complete look of garbage. What an arrogant kid. Brothers, charge. At this time, these cultivators who were following behind Nangong Ming also had people from the demonic race who also followed them up. Hearing that, and the contemptuous look, he quit right then and there. Drawing out his own weapon from his arms as well as his storage pouch, he straightly killed Chu Feng. In their view, Chu Feng was now at a critical point in his cultivation, unable to move, and was completely a living target. In this situation, to still dare to say this boldly was completely looking for death. At that moment, colorful and strange weapons were operated by these people. With an endless and terrifying might, it killed Chu Feng head-on. Humph! Let you be arrogant. This time you're dead. Seeing this scene from afar, Nangong Ming revealed a hint of dejection up in his heart. Originally, he was still thinking about what he had to do to be able to cut him down without revealing his face. Who knows this guy? Even so arrogant directly annoyed these murderous guys. The heart under the annoyance, out of the hand, but not at all to stay, under so many attacks, and Xian Realm Cultivator would definitely be 10 dead. Nangong Ming wore a treacherous smile as he watched that scene with a smile. There was a sickly look in his eyes. This was a ploy that he himself had devised to be able to decapitate this fellow without any need for his own hand at all. Sculpture, classy thing, with this amount of strength, you still dare to come up and take a shot at me? Chu Feng disdainfully looked at the attack in front of him, a look of lack of interest flowing from his eyes. Forget it, no matter what. There are dozens of celestial pride here. It's just the right time for me to test out my newly practiced sword technique. Chu Feng drew out his long sword and waved his spiritual energy in his hand. The Sankai sword. 4-elephant sword. The two sword formations. Under the support of Chu Feng's enormous spiritual energy, in the blink of an eye, formed a 3-colored sword formation. For sword formations that carried the coldness of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Take these people down straight away. Boo! Ah! Under the strikes of the two splendid sword formations, the moves of the demon race attacking Chu Feng could be said to have been directly destroyed, and had not yet touched with Chu Feng. It directly exploded and shattered in mid-air. Moreover, after decapitating these dozens of attacks, the two sword formations seemed as if they had not been damaged in the slightest. Continue to kill the attackers behind you. Seeing that Chu Feng was at a critical moment, these people thought that there was nothing Chu Feng could do at all. One by one, the hands did not stay. Out of the dead force, there was no ability to dodge for a moment. In one fell swoop, Chu Feng's two moves got him. Dozens of attackers, one after another, took out their own crushing means to block this attack. But in Nangong Ming's shocked gaze, none of these guys had the slightest ability to resist. Straight away, they were hit, either spitting blood and falling to the ground, or their defenses were broken. The whole man fell into the pool, alive or dead. Nangong Ming, who witnessed everything, muttered, "He is by no means in the Xian realm cultivation." End of chapter. Chapter 147. Chapter 147. Under the shock of his mind, Nangong Ming began to speculate about Chu Feng's strength. However, when he thought about what had happened in the past while, it didn't seem very likely. This brat Chu Feng has been in the corner of our eyes. It's impossible for this to happen. It wasn't so easy to break through the heaven realm. One of the things was that it required a huge amount of energy. The second thing is that the breakthrough process. But there will be a huge movement. These are things that can't be avoided. But none of them had seen this happen on the other side along the way. So, Nangong Ming ended up breaking the speculation again. It should be a secret hand left on him by the Demon Emperor. Something like this is only able to be used once. When the other party runs out, I'll go up and take him down. Immediately, Nangong Ming moved away from Chu Feng, intending to wait for him to finish his undercard before going up to cut him down. Unfortunately, what Nangong Ming didn't know was that it was all just his own imagination. It seems that your strength isn't good either. How dare you come up here to find trouble with me? Who gave you the courage? Liang Jingjiu? After Chu Feng held these people down on the ground in 2 moves, not knowing whether they were alive or dead, he began to continue cultivating. He had indeed, as Nangong Ming had said, reached the most critical moment in his cultivation. Only this was not the cultivation of the realm, but rather the cultivation of the physique. Evolving to the most critical moment, the movement could not be moved casually, otherwise it would be extremely easy to cause him to fail in his cultivation. At that moment, Chu Feng continued to suck up the surrounding resources up. The movement also grew more and more voluminous. As for these people, he wasn't talking so nicely. Every single one of them could have had a ban placed on them to tie them up. As far as he was concerned, these guys were good people, and he was perfectly capable of collecting a fee if he went back. The vast commotion stirred up Nangong Ming, who was hidden in the shadows. It seems like that kid has really reached the most critical moment, otherwise he wouldn't have stayed where he is, and should not have much face inside the Demon Emperor, otherwise he wouldn't have dared to cut them down. What Chu Feng did not know was that his failure to cut down all of the attackers had instead caused Nangong Ming to surmise something different. The fighting spirit in his heart rose even higher. Wait a while, then go up and decimate this person. After waiting quietly for half a day, Nangong Ming realized that Chu Feng was just cultivating, not even paying attention to the local cultivators who were howling. Immediately, he was ready to assassinate Chu Feng again. Well, how dare any little worm come charging up here? Chu Feng, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly felt a hint of crisis. Opening his eyes and sweeping his divine mind, he instantly knew where the sensation was coming from, coldly staring in one direction. Come out, or don't blame me for directly striking out and decapitating you. The position that Chu Feng was looking at was completely blank, ordinary without any colorful color. Compare it to what's going on around you. But it was as if he had decided it was there, staring straight ahead. How is it possible? How could he see through my position? Nangong Ming's heart trembled with fear and he didn't dare to move. It was because where he was exactly where Chu Feng was staring at. One must know that he had cultivated a void refining art. This is a door to be able to put a person's body shape and breath and so on, all the information that ordinary people can detect. With such a cheating general aptitude in place, it was only then that he was able to gain so much progress despite Elder Nangong's oppression. After all, he was just an ordinary disciple who didn't have much resources at all. But it was able to become a heavenly pride level existence in the Nangong family. These were the biggest secrets of a person. And if he hadn't been too emotionally attached, with his only sister in the hands of the elders, he wouldn't have been in this class of existence long ago. Since you won't come out, go to hell. When Chu Feng saw that the other party was refusing to do so, he didn't hold back at that moment. Under the rapid dance of the spirit's sword in his hand, a move of the little 5-element sword, which immediately formed a vortex in general, emitting a bizarre 5-colored light, killing the position where Nangong Ming was. How is that possible? A look of panic flashed across Nangong Ming's eyes. He couldn't believe that someone was actually able to break through his hidden means. Seeing that the kilometers were about to hit him, at that moment, he did not dare to continue hiding there, and under the flickering of his figure, in the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Chu Feng. A killing move then stabbed at Chu Feng. Surprisingly, it's you. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you guys? Seeing this figure, Chu Feng immediately remembered that it was Nangong Ming. He was the one who led the attack on himself the first time. Only then he was in training. The other thing was that there were too many people besieging together, so he didn't overly put too much of his best efforts on the other side. Now that he found out that he still dared to assassinate himself, he was enraged at that moment. The 3-talented sword, 4-elephant sword, kill, 2 sword formations, instantly stabbed out in Zhu Feng's hands, chopping towards Nangong Ming. Bear! In Nangong Ming's horrified eyes, several sword awnings directly sliced him into several pieces, and he himself is dead beyond death. What fools! Thinking that just because I didn't decapitate these people that you have the capital to be able to be arrogant in front of me? Chu Feng withdrew